To me, a camera is just a tool. But let's be honest, it's nice to have one that checks off a lot of boxes. This is my no-nonsense, practical, hands-on wedding day review of the Panasonic Lumix S1R. Now, in response to some of my recent social media, I've been getting people asking me, Rob, why the S1R and not the more video-centric S1? Well, the reason is that Panasonic didn't give us a choice. They sent us the S1R over the S1. But honestly, it's really not a problem. I'm really just thankful to have a pre-production model in my hand that I could take out and play with in a real-world situation. Straight away, ergonomics. I love the build quality of this camera. It's got a nice grip on it. It feels substantial. It feels like you're holding a pro camera. That was one of my big complaints about the Sonys, that when you pick them up, they just felt too small in the hand. I didn't feel like I could really grip onto it and get a nice point of contact. Same thing sort of with my GH5 and GH5S. That's why I chose to put cages on the cameras, just to give them a little bit more gripability. Coupled with the Lumix S50 1.4 lens that they gave us to play around with, it definitely adds weight. However, it does feel nice and balanced. I really love this lens for a couple of different reasons. Hey, the image quality is fantastic, the glass quality is amazing, but I love this manual aperture ring. I love that in a Cine lens. It's not a declicked aperture ring, but it does have an auto mode that you can switch into, which allows you to change the aperture in the camera body. Button placement. I really like where the white balance and ISO buttons are right here by my index finger on my right hand. I really also like the lens release button position, which is right by the ring finger on my right hand. So all I have to do is click that and then turn the lens counterclockwise. Lens comes right off. The OLED viewfinder is amazing. On a bright sunny day, this thing is invaluable. When I look into it, I feel like I'm looking at a big screen TV. The clarity, the sharpness, the brightness, just the overall quality of the image is fantastic.
The only complaint I have about the viewfinder is I wish I had more of an eye cup, because light from the side or from behind tends to leak in, and it makes it a little hard to see the screen in there. But that is a seriously nice viewfinder on the inside of there. I can get nice crisp detail on that viewfinder, and I can really see what I'm doing, which is nice. The flip out screen in the back is handy, just the fact that it does flip out. I do like on my GH5s how I can pull it off to the side and then twist it out, but you know, that's not a deal breaker for me.
We were only given one lens to play around with, so let's get down to shooting. I was able to use the S1R on my wedding this past weekend. I did not use the S1R as my primary camera on this wedding. I used my GH5s as normal and then picked up the S1R at opportune times to get beautiful shots and test out the camera. When I did pick it up, however, holy cow, it's nice to be shooting full frame again. Moving to a full frame sensor now was a big change. It reminded me of the days of the Canon 5D Mark II, Mark III, where that full frame sensor really made a big difference. Where does it make a big difference? Well, in close-up shots, depth of field. You have to be careful when you're shooting wide shots. Shooting full frame, you have to be really careful of your aperture to make sure things are in focus. But I love the way that full frame looks up close and when you're really trying to compress an image and give it beautiful depth. I'm really thrilled with the image quality here. I'm loving what it captured. I'm loving the clarity of the images. I'm loving the fact that it performed well in low light. I don't crank the ISOs on my cameras, so it's very rare for me to go above 4000 ISO. I would rather add light like we did here. Ultimately, you have to be the judge what you consider to be acceptable noise levels in your high ISO footage. Battery life, we only had one battery, and like I said, we weren't using the camera the entire day. The batteries are slightly bigger than what powers the GH5 and the GH5S. Not sure if that means more battery capacity, given that this camera does so much more, and there's probably more happening on the inside. But I will say this, in using the camera all throughout the entire day, and it was a long day, and picking it up at periods and shooting with it, I did notice that about halfway through the day, we weren't even down to 2 bars on the battery, and then by the end of the day, the battery was nowhere even near depleted. It still probably had about 35% left in it. So I would say that the battery life, just in my limited opinion here, seemed to be pretty good. We were shooting 4K 60 the entire day. Now the nice thing about the S1R is it allows you to use most of the full frame surface of that sensor in 4K 60 mode. The downside is it does this thing called line skipping, where apparently the quality is reduced slightly because it's using so much of the sensor and the camera can only do so much. The nice thing is you can switch back and forth between full frame and APS-C mode. In APS-C mode, there is a crop. So here are 2 images side by side. One is 4K 60 using the full frame option. The other one is 4K 60 using APS-C mode. To me, any difference here would be negligible. I would definitely use both of these images. Now, I'm not a handheld shooter per se, but the in-body stabilization is what I've come to expect from the Lumix system. The in-body stabilization on my GH5s is fantastic, and it's really no different here with the S1R. Autofocus. I am not an autofocus shooter. Why? It's just the way I've always done it. That's not to say that I wouldn't use autofocus if really good autofocus was made available to me. However, with the GH5 and the GH5S, autofocus just really isn't their thing. It's not a big deal for me. I'm used to shooting manual focus. So listen, I'm a wedding filmmaker, and having used this camera in a creative capacity on my weddings, I can honestly say that I love it. I love the quality of the images, I love the way it feels in my hand, and I would definitely consider adding this to my arsenal, although I'd probably go with the S1 model over the S1R because this is a little bit more photocentric, where the S1 is more video-centric. I also don't ever shoot with a strap on my camera. I just didn't want to have to take it off the pre-production model and then have to put it back on. So that's it. That's my no-nonsense, hands-on, practical wedding day review of the Panasonic Lumix S1R. Please comment below, ask any questions or things I might have missed. I'll try to answer as many as I can. And please subscribe to my YouTube channel so you'll be notified when I release more video content. Let's go ahead now and watch the 1-minute teaser trailer I made from this past weekend's wedding, featuring shots from the Lumix S1R.
You look so beautiful to me today. But I know that you always look beautiful to me. And it will always be this beautiful to me. Tomorrow, and the next day, and the next. As gorgeous as you are right here, right now, I will only love you more and more each day of our marriage.
I vow to love you the way you are. I vow to make you happy and make our family a warm place to be. Good times, hard times, but never bad times.